Hey everyone, Dan here, and welcome to that Paintball channel. Today I have something really exciting for you. But before I talk about that, I want to go back to my introductory channel video and a statement that I made saying that I would never make videos where I talk about this or that marker and call it the ultimate power in the entire galaxy. I may actually have to go back on that video today. I'm really hoping not to have to go back on that statement, but I may have to. And the reason that I may have to is because I have for you today the Planet Eclipse GMEK. Oh yes. Easily one of the most anticipated, talked about markers certainly in a long time, and in the mechanical realm, one of the most ever, if not the most ever. Planet Eclipse, huge thank you to them. They were generous enough to send this out for an event that we had at Top Gun Paintball in Jackson, New Jersey this weekend, and the response was nothing short of overwhelming in the most literal sense. I've never seen a reaction to a marker like the reaction that I saw this weekend, and that includes my own reaction. I've been looking forward to this, just salivating over this thing. It doesn't matter. Whatever level of anticipation, it really doesn't do this thing justice. So let's jump in and talk about this. If you're not familiar, with what this is, early in the year, Planet came out and said that they were looking at doing a mechanical frame to go with the GTEK. Now, if you don't know how or why this works, people have talked and said, oh, can you put a mech frame on, say, an LV1 or something like that? No. And the reason that you can't is because of the drivetrain in the GTEK. What makes the Gamma core different is that it's dwell insensitive. Now this is a very well engineered drivetrain. It's got a low force two-stage bolt, super reliable, super robust, super efficient. And what makes this different is that, as I said, you don't need dwell to control how it functions. Most electronic markers, if it's a spool valve, you need dwell to control how long that dump chamber stays open. If it's a poppet, the dwell is going to control, the way in which the rammer hits the valve. For this drivetrain, it's a kind of just turn it loose and then let it go kind of deal. It's so well engineered that it's kind of like a line of dominoes. You just set the first one in motion and you just walk away and it just does its thing. So as long as you can just activate it, it will go through its entire cycle correctly and it will reset and it's ready to go. So basically what they did was they took the electronic solenoid that normally actuates the drivetrain out, and they replaced it with, a mechanical valve that does basically the same thing, but is actuated mechanically instead of electronically. So I've got the grips off here, and I'll let you look at this. And it's just this little valve right here, and if you're at all familiar with new mags, very similar. It's also relatively similar to an autococker four-way. And interestingly, also like an autococker, you've got this nice slide trigger. You gas it up, this little piston here, right there, comes into contact with the back of the trigger plate, and you just pull it, and that sets it off. Really well thought out and just simple design. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about the top end. The GTEK has been out. It's long long been on the market. People know what it is. They know how it functions. So I'm not going to talk about that. What I'm going to talk about is what makes this bottom end so special, and it is special. Um, they worked on making this trigger very smooth. What they've done is to put in brass shoulder screws. Now the screws themselves are stainless, but they've got brass sleeves on them, and that's what rides against this trigger plate. And guys, the trigger is so unbelievably smooth. It's slick. It is glassy smooth, and it's light. The spring in here is about, I would imagine, it looks like it came out of a ballpoint pen. I mean, that's how light it is. And it is so nice. And there's also a post-travel screw. Now this is a prototype frame, so I'm not sure what the really final version is going to look like, but there is a post-travel screw. I didn't mess with that because I wanted to see how it would function just straight out of the box. So there is some uptake, but I mean, if you look at this pull, that is not a long pull, and most of this pull is pre-travel and post-travel. The actual pull is about 1 millimeter, so super light. You're talking auto-mag short trigger pull, and it's slick and light and smooth like an autococker. So the way that this feels is amazingly good. People are asking, well, how fast can it go? This thing screams. It is so fast, so fast. And, comparisons are made to the GOG Enemy, and we'll talk about that here in a moment. But basically just wanted to talk about how the actual frame is made. Now, these are going to be done in aluminum. People, myself included, asked about, why not use GRN, because I think it's a great material. But as it turns out, while GRN is cheaper than aluminum, the tooling isn't. So it's actually cheaper to just do these up in aluminum. And why not? I mean, aluminum looks good, and you can anno it however you'd like, and certainly with a metal body, it actually makes a really, really nice and attractive package. So, it's got a safety, which, very good. And let's go ahead and talk about how the thing shoots. I've shot the G-Tech. A lot of people have shot the G-Tech. This thing doesn't shoot like a G-Tech. It has its own unique character. You pull the trigger, and there's a sort of, two-stage component. You hear this little valve go off, and the main engine go, so it's ka-thunk, ka-thunk, ka-thunk. It's got nice character to it. It does not have the same kind of character as an autococker or an automac. Nothing ever will have the character of those markers. But it does have a character, and it doesn't feel or come across quite like an electric. A lot of times people, certainly mech aficionados, will complain that electros have no soul. That's often the case. They're so good that they don't have a lot of personality to them in some ways. They're just sort of, they're just very regular, and they just don't have a lot going on. This, you've got the smoothness and the luxury of the electronic top end combined with that satisfaction of a mechanical bottom end. And that's, I think, really what it's all about. This thing is so satisfying to shoot. You just want to pull the trigger again and again and again and again. I shot a case and a half of paint over the weekend, and that's also letting other people shoot it, and it didn't miss a beat. No broken paint of any kind. You physically can't short stroke it. Let's just get that just over and done with. You can't short stroke it. There isn't anything to short stroke. Once this valve touches off the engine runs, and you can hold the trigger all day long. It will simply have shot, and it's already reset. You just need to let go of the valve so that can reset. Super nice, super fast, super smooth, very efficient, and we may as well talk about the sort of elephant in the room, which is, how does this thing stack up to the GOG Enemy? As you read on the forums, all the conversation about this, people are talking about, oh, you know, I'll just keep my GOG enemy. Okay, keep your GOG enemy if you want. But if you want to know how this thing stacks up as an owner of a GOG enemy is a $150 marker. It's very functional. It's a good, solid performer. It's fast. It's smooth. It's relatively quiet. Pretty robust. But it's a $150 marker. And it looks, shoots, and feels like a $150 marker. This looks, shoots, and feels like what it is, a $500 marker. And I would say even better than that. And honestly, the reaction this weekend, as I said earlier, was just unprecedented. I've never seen people get that excited over a marker. I don't think I've ever been this excited over a marker. Just, you know, so many people who shot it. Every person, first of all, I'll say, every single person there, you know, these people are shooting really high-end autocockers, automags, so they know what makes a good mech a good mech. And so do I. And every single one of them was nothing but complimentary about how this was. I mean, the lowest key reaction was, wow, that's really amazing. But most of the comments were, this is the most amazing marker I've ever shot. I mean, people said that to me. You know, people who have been in this game a long, long time. People who, you know, this isn't their first game and this isn't their first time shooting a mech. These are people who know what markers are. There is, honestly, gang, there is nothing that I can say that is going to overhype this. This thing cannot be overhyped. Nothing I say will prepare you for how good this thing actually is. It is a joy to shoot. You pull the trigger, it's just got that little kathunk, kathunk, and you just keep wanting to pull the trigger. You just giggle and laugh. And you see in that video, we're just cackling. You can't believe that anything can shoot as good as this thing shoots. And again, it has its own character. It's not just a G-Tech. It has its own character. And, you know, people are asking about the price point. I believe these frames, you can get them on pre-order for $120, $130, something like that. And if you're sitting on the fence and you are wondering, I wonder if it's worth it. Yes. Yes. It's completely worth it. Are you kidding? You know, let's put it this way. If all you care about is just having some kind of functional mechanical marker, go ahead and get a Tippmann, you know, or if you want something a lot higher end feeling, get a GOG Enemy. But if you are, like me, a perfectionist, if you are persnickety, if you are a trigger snob, if you're someone who can't sleep nights knowing that, you know, your marker isn't as well made as it could be, get it. I mean, what are you talking about? You're complaining about $150? I mean, think about the money that people who would be getting into something like this spend anyway. I mean, how much does your loader cost? How much do you spend in paint on a given weekend? You know, even if it's $150 for the frame, that's $150. What is that? 2 weekends maybe? For 2 weekends cost, you're going to complain about the cost of the trigger frame? I mean, I don't know about that. I'm just telling you up front, gang, I'm going to get one of these. Oh yes, I'm going to have one of these. I would love it, you know, if Planet just comes out and, you know, goes the whole hog and produces the entire marker. That's fine. But, you know, in the meantime, as I said, if you're sitting on the fence and wondering whether or not you should just get one of the frames and upgrade one, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, it's amazing. It really is that good, and the hype is really that well deserved. And I would submit there's not enough hype. There aren't enough people turning cartwheels. There aren't people going back into their smooth animal brains and running up into the hills and shrieking and growing, you know, beards and just going nuts over this thing, as they should. This thing is unbelievable. So good. So good. I, I can't say how good the thing is enough and vehemently enough. It's just incredible. Also, another thing that I almost forgot about, people were asking about weight of the thing. With barrel, marker and everything, this thing comes in at 2 pounds, 1.25 ounces, or 942.5 grams. Without barrel, the thing comes in at 1 pound, 12.4 ounces, and 806 grams. So, you know, take a regular GTEK without the battery, and that's basically what this thing weighs. You know, you're sort of replacing the solenoid, the electronic solenoid, with the MEK valve. You're replacing some of the other components with this trigger. So the real weight difference has to do with the battery. So this is actually lighter than the standard GTEK. But wow, you know, just, you know, Planet Eclipse, reliability, quality control. Even this prototype frame is nice, guys. I mean, it's really nice. So, as I said, if you're sitting on the fence wondering whether or not you should get one of these, yeah, stop thinking about it. Just pull the trigger and get it. It's that good. Thanks a lot.